What's up, YouTube? Today's Geeky Acrylics video, we're going to do a new tutorial. Gonna try something new. For my birthday, I got some Fimo Air Basic. This is a new type of clay I have not used before. This is an air dry. So air drying modeling clay, similar to China clay. It says air drying within 24 hours. Do not microwave. Do not oven bake. Alright. There's not a lot of information here. I guess that's it. Just don't microwave it. And it's gonna dry in 24 hours if I'm not finished. I did read online that you could use water with it since it's an air dry, so I got a little glass of water with me. And we're just going to crack this bad boy open and get started. Alright, I'll just do it that way. See what this is like. There we go. Oh, this clay has a little bit of a smell to it. So it's like a big brick. I haven't opened it all the way. Oh, okay. Alright. I have to condition this. Oh, alright. So I'm just going to take out this because that's probably more than what I need. Since this is air dry, I'm going to need to put it in a Ziploc bag to keep it fresh. I'll just stick it for now. Let's see what this feels like. Oh, it's a little crumbly. I don't know if it's because it's not fresh or if that's normal. Right, let's move the camera and get in here. So I'll just explain what we're going to be doing here as I try to condition this. Wow, I need a little water. Oh man, this is interesting. It's very crumbly. I don't know if you can see this. Holy smokes. Alright. it just crumbles. I didn't see a lot of stuff out there on this clay. This is interesting. So what I was hoping to do is get it conditioned and rolled out. Since it's an air clay, I wanted to try sculpting over this Star Wars base. Like, I repurpose a lot of Star Wars Funko pieces. I use their bodies a lot. You can kind of see the two Funkos in the background there. Those are using Star Wars bodies. Because the way they hold their lightsaber and stuff makes them good for, like, book Funkos and stuff. Characters that hold swords. So, I have a lot of these bases, and I haven't been able to do anything with them. So I thought, since I got this clay, it'd be cool to do a tutorial, try it out, and maybe cover this base. But wow, all right, this is something. Maybe I need a little more water. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, it smells like as soon as I open as soon as I open the package. I mean, it's not like awful. It's not like so like awfully repellent that you wouldn't want to use this clay. It just it's different. Super Sculpey doesn't really, that's the polymer clay I use, and that doesn't really have much of a smell at all. So this air dry clay noticeably has a smell. Kind of like, I don't know, skanky old rubbing alcohol. Need a little water, maybe. Wow, this is messy. All right, I'm gonna work on this, and I'll come back when I have something that resembles more like workable clay. All right, so it's the final conclusion, the day of reckoning for the Fimo Air Basic Clay. So yeah, I won't say that it's an awful clay, that, you know, it's not a great option, because it's really always going to come down to an artist's personal preference. There may be some people that don't have access to, you know, use an oven or a microwave for their art purposes, or don't feel comfortable doing that. So, I mean, Fimo Air Basics is going to give people an option to create things with clay as an air dry option. I honestly can't see myself using it though, because it is, you know, messy and a little more time consuming on the prep work, trying to condition it and getting it much, you know, softer. It was a bit of an issue. Of course, that was my first try, so maybe it wouldn't be as bad a second go, but it's still going to be just as messy. I know some artists don't mind the whole mess of things, and, you know, getting messy with art is part of the creative process. It's just unfortunately not part of my process. I'm not an artist that gets paint everywhere. Well, you know, I'm clumsy, so sometimes I do, but I try not to. I don't like the messy aspect. I didn't like the stuff all over my hands. I didn't like the smell of it. For what I was using it on, it did essentially work. Maybe I have so many of these Star Wars bases that maybe I will open, you know, the second pack, and just make a bunch of these bases, you know, in the event I have a custom Funko that I want to stick on it. Now that's an Ninja Turtle, so he's not like gonna be like on like a rock or mountain type base. So, but you know, it's something that I can use to repurpose this plastic base, because it is hard plastic that I can't put in the oven. It will melt. I do see some cracking here. It dried really well. It dried much lighter than the color it originally was. Again, it doesn't matter, because, you know, I would be painting it, and I'm sure whatever you're creating, unless you specifically want this like kind of like sandy, fleshy color, that you'll probably paint it anyways. I mean, I feel like it's maybe a little more brittle than what I would get from well, it's definitely more brittle than what I would get from my polymer clay. But I think it would probably hold up just as well. Like if I drop this base on carpet, it'll probably hold up just like my polymer clay bases will. Durability wise, if you drop this on like hardwood floor, stone floor from a good enough distance, you probably would get some cracking or it might bust completely. But I mean, you'll probably get some breakage with a polymer clay base. It may survive a little bit better than this, because it does seem to be a little harder, a little more brittle. But again, not an awful option. The cracking that I experienced here was probably because some portions of the top I might have got too thin. So I think when it dried, it did experience some cracking there. If I were to do this again, I would do the process the same way. I would just apply it a little more thick and evenly across the top here. I think that's really the only problem because there's no cracking on the sides. I did a good job of blending the pieces and applying them to the plastic. It's molded all the way around. It's not coming off this base. It's molded into one whole unit here. So yeah, to sum it up, it's not my ideal way to use clay, but it might be someone else's most convenient and fun to use option, getting messy with it. So I wouldn't count it out. But if you're someone like me that doesn't want to deal with the mess, you don't have to be like nervous that your plastic Funko is going to, melt. It's not going to melt as long as you follow the instructions on the polymer clay. Every polymer clay is going to have a slightly different like baking instructions. It might be a slight difference to the temperature or how long you have to bake it for, but as long as you follow that, whether you're using this is a big brick of Super Sculpey Original. This is what I normally use, the translucent clay. Whether using that or Super Sculpey Firm or there's the Primo and a few other brands, you're not going to get anything that's going to require baking at such a high temperature that it's going to melt. I get this question all the time on my Instagram and YouTube. No matter how many tutorials I put out, I still get this question, won't it melt in the oven? But it won't, as long as you follow the instructions. And make sure that your oven is baking at the appropriate temperature. Always use a second, put a second thermometer inside of there just to ensure, because most oven built-in thermometers, they're not giving you the accurate temperature. My oven actually gets 10 to 15 degrees hotter than what it actually says it does. So yeah, maybe I would run into an issue if I didn't use the like old school thermometer I got hanging inside of there. But I stick to the instructions. The vinyl just gets soft, it's not hard plastic. The vinyl just gets soft. The head would get kind of squishy, but as it cools, you just take it out of the oven, let it cool, and it retains its shape and everything. The only time you have to worry is like with Leonardo here, he's got these swords. So obviously when I'm baking a sculpted Leo Funko, if I were to put his body in the oven, I've never baked, wait, that's not true. I have baked a Leo body before, when I turned him into something else. But you just cut the swords off and you can reattach them, or you can wrap them in aluminum foil to give it a little more like stability once it gets soft in there. So little pieces like that, lightsabers, any type of little Funko like weapon or accessory that's really thin like this, it does have the ability to get so soft that it warps. So the shape might warp. So that's really the only thing you have to take into consideration. But other than that, like I just pop off the head. I put it in the oven when I sculpt the bandana. So this is like a custom Leo here. So I used polymer clay to sculpt the bandana. I popped off his head so I didn't have to worry about any warping on his swords. And it was totally fine, no problems. Reattached the head. But yeah, if you don't want to deal with baking and you're not, really going for anything serious, maybe you're just trying to do a cool base. This is my recent Dead Space Funkos. This is a polymer clay base, but maybe essentially you just want to do a base and you don't want to deal with all the extra stress over baking, or maybe, you just, for whatever reason, you don't want to use the oven. You could essentially use this air dry clay to make a base for your Funko Pop. So it might not be a bad option. I feel like this was such a messy and stressful process to condition. I probably wouldn't use it to create anything elaborate like what I'm doing here. It constantly had to stay wet, and it just got, I don't know, it's like the old pottery clay in school. It had that same feel to it, and we get kind of, you would need the water to condition it, but then it wasn't really holding its shape. So you wouldn't be able to get some of the details, the fine like stressing and little indentations I made in the the armor here for this Dead Space Funko. I would need Super Sculpey Original or Super Sculpey Firm to do the level of detail that I got here. So yeah, you can try to achieve some kind of like intense detail with the air dry clay, but I don't know. It might take a little practice to achieve that. I think it would be used for more simple things like sculpting the bases and stuff like that. I originally thought maybe this would be a great idea for when I wanted to customize some action figures. I kind of wanted to take some old action figures and maybe sculpt them into something new, or just revamp their look into a new style, like with like maybe an old Ninja Turtle Funko into like a more modernized version or something. But I can't see myself using this. I will probably use like an air dry epoxy clay for that. I've never done that before. I've tried to stay away from the epoxy stuff, but that will probably be my go-to if I decide to do customizing anything that's like action figure type plastic and not a vinyl that I can put into the oven with polymer clay. So yeah, that wraps it up. I hope this information was informative. Let me know in the comments below if you like these types of air dry clay, if you've used this before, if you're interested in using this, and let me know if you have any other questions regarding this clay, polymer clay, anything else like that. But no, guys, you don't have to ask. Your Funkos won't melt in the oven if you follow the instructions on the polymer clay. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of this.